Okay, Jairo, excuse me by the interruption. As I said before, I have problem with my internet connection, but I consider it fixed at all. Okay, I'm going to continue with the passive voice explanation. Here we have the president opened the building in 1931. This is an active voice. But in passive voice, it was opened by the president in 1931. As you can observe, the president is the subject pronoun in active voice, followed by the verb in past, opened. The complement of the sentence is the building in 1931. It was opened by the president in 1931 is the passive voice. It represents the building. Can you observe this, Jairo?
Bueno,
This pronoun it's
sí,
referring to the building. The building was opened by the president in 1931. If you can see the difference between the active voice, the president is the subject pronoun in the sentence in active voice, followed by the verb in past, open. The building in 1931 is in this case the complement of the sentence, okay?
okay, teacher.
Okay, but if you can observe in passive voice, it was open is the passive voice. It, we refers to the building. Nos referimos al edificio, ¿verdad? The building.
Yes.
The building is it. The building was opened by the president in 1931. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. An American architect designed the building. Yeah. An American architect designed the building. An American architect is the subject pronoun in the sentence, and design is the verb in past, and the building is the complement. But in passive voice, it refers to the building, and what design is the verb be, and the verb, the main verb, el verbo principal, by an American architect. By is the preposition, and an American architect is the complement. In 1964, the building's owners added color lights to the top. En 1964, el edificio, los propietarios del edificio agregaron luces de colores en la cima, ¿verdad?
Okay.
Color lights were added to the top by the building's owners in 1964. The idea is that you identify when the sentences change when you form the passive voice. In this case, the building is the complement of the sentence, past at the beginning of the sentence in passive voice. The subject pronoun, it, refer to the building. The subject pronoun, it, refer the building in the sentence. And color light, refer to color light here in the active voice. ¿Cómo cambian de posición el complemento de la oración? Pasa al inicio, ¿viste?
Sí.
¿Ya viste?
Yes.
What is the passive voice? Okay. In general, the active voice makes your writing stronger, more direct, and you guess it, more active. The subject is something, or it does the action on the verb of the sentence. With the passive voice, the subject is acted upon by some other performer of the verb. In case you weren't paying attention, the previous two sentences use the type of voice they describe. But the passive voice is not incorrect. In fact, there are times when it came in handy. Read on to learn how to form the active and passive voices when using the passive voice is a good idea, and how to avoid confusing with similar form. The difference between active and passive voice. While tense is all about time references, voice describe whether the grammatical subject of a clause performs or receives the action of the verb. Here is the formula for the active voice: subject plus verb, performed by the subject, and optional object. The subject, as I said before, is in this case the president. The president. After the verb performed by the subject, optional subject, object. Example, Chester kicked the ball. In a passive voice construction, the grammatical subject of the clause receives the action of the verb. So the ball from the above sentence, which receiving the action becomes the subject. The formula subject plus some form of the verb to be plus past participle of a transitive verb plus optional prepositional phrase. Example, the ball was kicked by Chester. Can you identify the difference? Chester kicked the ball. Chester pateó la pelota.
Pateó la pelota. Yes.
Y aquí, the ball was kicked by Chester. Can you observe? What is the difference here, Chester? Jairo?
Chester.
Chester is at the beginning of the sentence.
Chester pateó la pelota, pero abajo de
The ball
B.
was kicked by Chester. If you can observe, Chester is at the end of the sentence, and the ball is the subject in this case. The ball is the subject, and Chester.
La pelota fue pateada por Chester, salía ahí.
Exactamente. If you can observe, the ball in the first sentence is the object, and Chester is the subject. But in passive voice, the ball is the subject, and Chester is the object. Yeah. La bola aquí pasa a ser el sujeto y Chester pasa a ser el objeto directo. ¿Entendido?
Yes.
¿Comprendes? Y también va incluido también el verbo to be en pasado. Was kicked. Was kicked. ¿Oíste?
Sí.
That last little bit by Chester is a prepositional phrase that tells you who the performer of the action is. But even though Chester is the one doing the kicking, he is no longer the grammatical subject. A passive voice construction can even drop him from the sentence entirely. Example, the ball was kicked. The ball was kicked. Simple past passives. Affirmative form, object plus was were plus verb, past participle. In question form, was, were plus object plus verb plus past participle and interrogation. Something was done by someone at some time in the past. Active, the teacher correct the mistakes. Passive, the mistakes were corrected by the teacher. Can you observe the difference? The teacher is at the beginning of the sentence, corrected at the verb in past, and the mistake is the complement or the object. In passive, the mistake that is at the end in this sentence, ¿está viendo? The mistake, the mistake is at the beginning, where is the plural of the verb be in past, and correct by the teacher. The teacher in this sentence is the object, and the mistake is the subject.
Yes.
The mistake en este caso es el sujeto. Were corrected es the verb to be, es plural, ¿verdad? ¿Ya identificaste que es plural?
Sí.
Que son
Sí.
los errores. Fueron corregidos por el profesor. Entonces aquí, the mistake were corrected by the teacher. The mistake is the subject, es el sujeto. Were corrected es el verbo to be con el verbo de acción, ¿verdad? Es el que se está ejecutando por el maestro. El maestro en este caso es, ¿quién? El objeto de la oración. Active. Did the little boy sell all the candy bars. This is active voice. Passive voice is where all the candies bars sold by the little boy. Where all the candy bars sold by the little boy. Fueron todos los caramelos, las barras de caramelos vendidas por el chico. Ya.
Y la otra es,
Y la otra es,
bueno, todos los dulces fueron vendidos por el niño.
did the little boy, no, la acti sería, el niño vendió todas las barras de caramelo. El niño vendió todas las barras de caramelo, ese es en el active voice. Y en el pasivo sería, fueron todos las barras de caramelo vendidas por el niño.
Ah,
Cambió la
sí, sí.
oración, ¿ya viste?
Yes.
Ok, vamos a hacer esto. Inactive. Lauren didn't eat any apples. Lauren didn't eat any apples.
No
No,
comió ninguna manzana.
pero sí, no apples were eaten by Lauren. No apples is at the beginning in this sentence, okay?
Yes.
He didn't give the wallet. The wallet wasn't given by him. Yeah,
Yes.
it's different. Here we have an example. We use second form of the verb was were plus third form of the verb. Example, girl click selfie. Selfie was clicked by girl. Girls click selfie. Selfie was clicked by girls. Girls click selfies. Selfies were clicked by girls. Bueno, se está como muy largo allí. Está como muy largo allí. Vamos a ver otra cosa. Pronunciation, the letter O. Here we have a practice exercise. If you have time during the week to do the exercises, you can do it.
Ok, teacher.
Ajá.
Creo que más noche, tal vez.
Más noche
Probable,
pues.
o
Sí.
mañana, tal vez.
O mañana,
A
sí.
más tarde mañana, teacher.
Sí, para yo poderlo revisar, ¿ok?
Ok, teacher.
Ya esta es la clase 3 y en la clase 5 o 6 creo que tenés el examen, ¿verdad?
Nunca he llevado una tutoría, teacher. No sé.
Ajá. Bueno,
Primera vez.
vamos a ver qué dice el profesor. Yo te aviso de todas formas. ¿Oíste?
Ok, teacher. Ok, teacher.
Here we have a pronunciation. There are multiple sounds using the letter O. In most cases, you make this sound with the rear portion of the mouth. You start with your mouth in an open state. Your tongue should also be away from the top part of the mouth. Then you make the sound by bringing in the lips in a circular manner and the tongue moving upward and toward the front of the mouth, ending right in the middle. Esto habla sobre la posición de tu lengua con la boca para pronunciar bien, ¿oíste? La
Sí,
lengua,
sí, lo que
la
estoy
letra.
viendo.
If you combine the O and O sound, you have the sound of the letter O along with the sound. It is common to use O with other vowels such as O, as in our. We will see example for all of these type below. Let's first take a look at the O sound. Both, older, mold. Can you pronounce this, Jairo?
Both.
Ajá.
Holder.
Older,
Mold.
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 He bought a nice big boat, my parents' object, to my girlfriend because she is much older than I am. The mold in the walls is a major cause for concern. Here are some examples of the O sound. Please repeat this word? True,
true,
blue,
blue,
flu.
flu.
The examination was the standard true and false question format. My favorite color is blue. I got the flu this year because I didn't take the flu shot. Two variations of the O sounds is when it is combined with a different vowel. Let's let's take a look at them both. The first one is when you combine O and U, it starts with the A sound and ends with the O sound. Here we have our, please repeat after me. Our,
Our,
sore,
shore,
coward,
cover,
south.
south.
How many hours
How many hours
are you going to study for?
are you going to study for?
The lemon was too sour.
The lemon was too sour.
He was such a coward.
He was such a coward.
Ducks fly south for the winter.
Dog flies out for the winter.
The second variation of O is when you combine the letters O and I together. Example, oil. Please repeat.
Oil,
Boy,
oil, boy,
Troy,
Troy,
the tanker, the tanker
tin tanker,
spilled
spilled,
oil
oil,
that ultimately
that ultimately
spoiled the water.
spoiled the water.
The little boy want
The little boy wants
to be a cowboy.
to be a cowboy.
His story
The story
of Troy
of Troy
is quite interesting.
is quite interesting.
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 Yeah. Okay. You will have the opportunity to watch the video that is here in this session, okay?
Okay.
And also a practice exercise 3.2. Okay.
Yes.
Passive voice, simple present. Passive without by simple present. Okay, we are going to study this.
Okay. Sure.
Passive without by simple present. Here is an explanation. For the simple present, use the present of be plus past participle. Active. The use of the euro in most of Europe. They use the euro in most of Europe. In passive voice, the euro is used in most of Europe. Can you observe this? They use the euro in most of Europe. The euro is here. It's at the beginning, okay? It's at the beginning.
Okay.
Is used. Here in the passive voice, we include the verb be in present.
Okay.
Is used in most Europe. In most of Europe. They speak English in many European countries. They speak English in many European countries. English is spoken in many European countries. Okay, can you observe?
Okay, teacher.
English is the subject in the sentence in passive voice. And spoken is the verb, is the main verb, the verbo principal, and the verb be is the verb that is included in present. And in many European countries is the complement of the sentence or the object. They manufacture a lot of cars in Europe. And in this case, a lot of cars are manufactured in Europe. You have to be clear that when we use passive voice, the subject pronoun change that in active voice. The active voice, oh, solo me quedan 10 minutos. They manufacture, they is the subject pronoun, and manufacture is the verb. But in this case, manufacture is in present. But when you for the passive voice, manufacture is joined by the verb be and also in past. Can you observe this?
Yes.
Are manufacture is the verb be and manufacture the verb, the main verb o verbo principal en la oración.
Okay.
Okay, in the active voice, the subject of the sentence does the action. John painted the house last week. John painted. The subject, in the passive voice, the subject of the sentence received the action. The house was painted last week. The house. This is the passive voice. Subject verb. Notice that the object of the active sentence house became the subject of the passive sentence. Passive voice use. We don't know who did the action. Example, the documents were stolen. We don't know who stole the documents. The receiver of the action is more important. Example, the pyramids were built nearly 5,000 years ago by the ancient Egyptian. We want to emphasize pyramids more than ancient Egyptian. ¿Entendés aquí, verdad? Las pirámides es lo más importante lo que te está diciendo, ¿verdad? No importa quién la hizo, sino de quién estamos hablando. Eso es lo que te quiere decir.
Okay.
A ver, we have 7 minutes left. Okay. In present, I want to check passive voice form. To change an active voice sentence to passive voice sentence, make the object of the active sentence into the subject of the passive sentence. Use the verb to be in the same tense as the main verb of the active sentence. Use the past participle of the main verb of the active sentence. Here are some active and passive voice examples to help you. Active, people drink champagne on New Year's Eve. Passive, champagne is drunk on New Year's Eve. Can you observe the difference? People is the subject pronoun. Drink champagne is the main verb, and the complement is champagne on New Year's Eve. Champagne is drunk on New Year's Eve. Drink is in present, and when you for, the passive voice is in past. Can you observe this? Drink in present and drunk in past when you for passive voice. ¿Entendido, Jairo?
Yes, yes.
Passive. Active. Chef use these machines to mix the ingredients. These machines are used to mix the ingredients. Active. They renovate the restaurant in 2004. The restaurant was renovated in 2004. Active. The teachers inform the students that the class had been canceled. Passive. The students were informed that the class had been canceled. Passive voice in present. In the present, the passive voice use the verb is and are plus past participle of the verb. The passive voice present is often used to describe processes. First, the apples are picked, then they are cleaned, and finally they are packed and shipped to the market. General thought, opinions and belief. New York is considered the most diverse city in the United States. It is believed that Amelia Earhart's plane crashed in Pacific Ocean. Hungarian is seen as one of the world's most difficult languages to learn. Skin cancers are thought to be caused by excessive exposure to the sun. Forming simple present passive affirmative form, object plus am, is, are, plus verb, past participle. Question 4, am, is, are, plus subject, plus verb, past participle. Something is done by someone regularly every day as expected. Here we have active. The gardeners waters the flowers every evening. Passive. The flowers were watered by the gardener every evening. Active. Helen doesn't drink anything in parties. Nothing is drunk by Helen in parties. Who sells umbrellas? Who are umbrellas sold by? My mother doesn't paint the walls. The walls aren't painted by my mother. I know that this is a little bit complicated if you see in a general way, Jairo, but the most important is that you can study and practice. This is like mathematics. If you don't practice mathematics, maybe you will forget the procedures at the time of the exam. But the most important is that you have the opportunity to practice by yourself and try to get confidence in order to apply for an exam in a few weeks, because I consider the exam is in the 7th week. I don't know. I consider it's in the 7th week, but would be a good idea that you try to study all of these sentences. Okay, Jairo?
Okay, teacher, it's fine. Try to study at night.
Yeah, because we only have 2 minutes left. Maybe we will be connected on Thursday, okay?
Okay, teacher, good night.
Okay, next Thursday entonces, ¿oíste?
Okay,
Thursday.
teacher.
Okay, thank you so much for attending to my class.
Claro, okay, teacher, está
Okay,
bien.
okay. Bye,
Good
bye.
night.